New proposed regulations may stop you from grabbing a second beer if you're getting behind the wheel. The National Transportation Safety Board now recommends lowering the legal limit on blood alcohol content from 0.08 to 0.05. Remember, back in the day, it was 0.1. That's about a drink an hour at 0.05. The agency says this will reduce deaths, injuries, while critics point to studies showing that not everyone is impaired to drive at 0.05. So, would this change overstep our legal rights to enjoy a few cold ones at the end of a long week? Alex Ozols, criminal defense attorney and expert in DUI regulations. Appreciate you joining us, sir, from a very warm and sunny spot on this blizzard day. Help us understand, does the federal government essentially have the prerogative on this to set BAC levels wherever they want?
So basically, studies have shown that at a 0.10, everyone's impaired. At a 0.08, most people are impaired. And at a 0.05, impairment can start. This can be physical or mental impairment. And what the federal government's doing right now, they say for safety, what the federal government's doing right now is they're trying to basically get this out there, and they're citing studies that say that you're more likely to be in an accident at a 0.05 or above.
But when it comes to the law, take it the idea that the NTSB is right on this. Can they essentially set the limit wherever they want to? Does this take an act of Congress? Does this take an act of individual state legislatures? How would it work to actually make this enforceable?
Okay, so absolutely not. They could not do that. And that's not basically what they're saying. They're trying to say that they're suggesting this to states. They couldn't actually make a federal law. If they tried to make a federal law on this, the only way, they couldn't enforce it on the states, and the only way someone could get arrested is if they were pulled over by an FBI agent or a U.S. Marshal. They'd have to be tried in federal court as well. So for the federal government to say this, it's more of a suggestion to the states, but the states wouldn't be able to follow it.
Well,
so
you say
the federal
that, though,
government.
But I mean, there's other things they can do. Back when we moved from 0.1 to 0.08 at the NTSB's suggestion again, at some point they attached federal highway dollars to it. So they said to the states, fine, if you don't want to go to 0.08, that's great, but we're going to keep all the cash.
Absolutely, and that is exactly what they did, and they may try and attach federal funding to it here, but now we're going so low. At a 0.05, most people are not even impaired. It just shows at a 0.05, that's where impairment starts. And it doesn't necessarily mean someone's impaired for the purposes of driving. So advocates against this would advocate so hard, saying
right,
that numerical value doesn't really matter. What matters is whether you're impaired for the purposes of driving. We don't want an innocent person at a 0.05 driving their vehicle perfectly fine, not impaired, and all of a sudden now getting a DUI for that.
Right.
So now that at that low of a level, they're really going to have advocates against this.
Well, a lot of advocates against it, especially those in the liquor business, the restaurant business, those kinds of lobbying groups you can imagine will just be beginning, and obviously they'll probably raise a lot of money out of it as well. Alex Ozols, appreciate your insight, sir. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Coming up, at least one resident of the